what should Canada do about the UN Resolution 194? And I hope you had a chance to go and Google what UN Resolution 194 is. But it is about the right of return for Palestinians.
Oh, okay, yes, okay.
You realize that if you're Jewish, you can return from anywhere in the globe, and you're accepted as a citizen in Israel right now. But if you're a Palestinian, you're deported, and you don't have the right to return. And there's about 4 million Palestinians all over the world as refugees. So what is your opinion or your party's position on this issue of Resolution 194 of the United Nations?
Well, when it comes right down to it, the Green Party is all about having peace first. And so we support a two-state solution based on the 1967 borders. We don't want to see, nobody wants to see the continuing suffering or the loss of human life, whether it's both Palestinian and Israeli. So we definitely want to see that two-state solution. We want to see Canada play a more constructive role in peacekeeping and bringing parties together versus having this ongoing issue. We know it's complicated, but as a Green MP, we would recognize the Palestinian right to statehood within the internationally recognized borders described in the United Nations Security Council Resolution 242. And in addition, Green MPs will protect and secure the right of the State of Israel to exist in the absence of fear and conflict.
So Palestinians can go back to Israel and Palestine?
Yes.
They should?
Yes, they should.
So what would you do if you elected, what would you do as an MP to assure that Palestinians have the right to return?
Well, we would work alongside the international community to try to find an acceptable compromise for Israel and Palestine to work out their differences with mutual respect and a better future for the citizens of the country. I mean, it's imperative that we start working together. We have to support the individuals, the organizations, and the governments, of course, that want to bring peace to the Middle East. Unfortunately, Stephen Harper has created a really challenging atmosphere. He's promoting a lopsided policy, and it's creating more tension. So we unquestionably want to support peace in every possible way possible.
Canada should play its traditional liberal role, a Pearsonian diplomacy. As a middle power, we should be helping to reach a two-state solution in the Middle East between the Palestinians and the Israelis. And we should organize our policy around a balanced approach that will help the Israelis and the Palestinians come to a peaceful agreement. So again, we're coming back to a question of negotiation. How can one side negotiate with the other, and how can Canada help in that process? And so that should be Canada's role.
Sure. The one state to a state is an issue for Israelis and Palestinians. The issue is, should Israel right now let Palestinians return? They allow Jews come from all over the world to come and automatically become citizens. But Palestinians are not allowed to return. So UN resolution says they have the right to return. So it's not about one state or two state solution. It's about the right of Palestinians to return to their homeland. What should Canada do to help?
We should facilitate the negotiation of a peace accord, because this issue will not be solved on its own. It'll be solved as part of a larger peace accord. And it's been part of the Oslo Accords, for example, as one of the big negotiating items in that peace negotiation, and it'll continue to be a major item on the peace negotiation agenda. That issue won't be solved on its own. It has to be solved in the larger context of the relationship between the Palestinian people and the Israeli people, the two states. And so our role in Canada, I think, is to facilitate that process, help the Palestinian people to be strong economically and to have appropriate democratic institutions, and to help the Israelis feel that they can take the big step of a peace accord.
Well, the NDP has always supported a balanced and principled approach to peace in the Middle East, and we very firmly believe that the goal of everyone here is for two peoples living in secure states with secure borders, democratic states of their own, and that the rights of self-determination of both peoples must be respected in that agreement. Now, we're a long ways from there, given the current situation, and certainly Canada, under the current government, has taken a one-sided approach to the Middle East. And I don't think there's anything to be achieved out of taking sides in this for Canada. What we have to do is work to reduce tensions, to reduce fears, and to create some confidence-building measures that would allow an ultimate peaceful agreement. One of those is the ending of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, and another of those is creating a viable economy in Gaza and some kind of bridge to the outside world so that that economy in Gaza would have a chance of producing some prosperity for people in Gaza. So we need those confidence-building, fear-reducing measures, as I said, to get to what we believe is the only possible solution, which is a negotiated settlement, two sovereign people living side by side with democratically elected governments.
Whether it's one state or two-state solution, isn't it the right of people, residents of Palestine, to decide, not of Canada or any other country?
Well, that's why I've said we should promote confidence-building measures that will allow the two parties to reach an agreement.
Mm-hmm. But that's their issue. The issue here is the violation of the right of return. Since 1948, United Nations resolved that, and Israel was part of that resolution, that Palestinians should have the right to return. That has been violated since 1948. So you're saying they should solve that problem among themselves?
The only possible solution is a negotiated settlement in the Middle East by both sides being involved. Canada can't impose a settlement, and we can't, by choosing one side or the other, or choosing one issue or another out of the dispute, make progress toward that peaceful solution. But what we can do is, as I already said, is work toward those peace-building and fear reduction measures, and the two most important of those for me are the ending of settlements in the West Bank and the creation of a viable economy in Gaza.
During the apartheid in Africa, I think many countries, including Canada, had a boycott. During this apartheid in Israel, you don't think that Canada should intervene and pressure Israel to abide by a UN resolution?
Well, I know I'm repeating myself here, but Canada has to pressure both sides to come to the table and reach an agreement. So no, we don't support a boycott agreement. This is not the same issue as apartheid in South Africa, and anyone who knows the history of the region or who has talked to either party knows that it is not the same thing as what took place in South Africa.
Well, the Green Party position on Israel is that first and foremost, we want to bring peace to the Middle East. And we need to do that by being willing to take a look at all the propositions that come forward from all parties, not just the two parties involved, but from all parties who would bring peace propositions forward. And in order to have a peace, though, it really will be Israel and Palestine that will have to negotiate how that works. So our role as Canadians is to reduce tension, to help find working solutions, but also to uphold international humanitarian law. So our position is that we support the right of return of Palestinian refugees, but we also support the right of Israel to exist as a state. So our position is a two-state position. But when I talk about holding up international humanitarian law, I am talking about the right of return of Palestinian refugees. We also believe that the Israelis should stop building on the territories beyond the 1967 borders so that we can start moving forward on this file. It will take concessions on both sides, but the most important thing for Canada right now is to come to a more neutral, balanced position. Currently, the government is showing a fairly strong support of Israel, and I don't think we're going to help find peace if we don't return to a more neutral position.
Mm-hmm. Well, this UN mandate, like so many other, or resolution that is, has been ignored by Israel, as I'm sure you're aware. And frankly, Canada needs to return to its historic role in supporting UN resolutions. Under Stephen Harper, we've seen a deplorable, unbridled support for the Israeli government and the policies that are being carried out there. And it's nothing short of the truth to say that it's ethnic cleansing by any other name. Benjamin Netanyahu, in his March 15th address, I believe, when campaigning for re-election, stated that his party would under no circumstances allow for a peaceful negotiation with the Palestinian people. And so again, this is then definitely genocide that we're witnessing here.
Mm-hmm. So you would support, how would you approach the resolution to be abided by? Would you want Canada to break diplomatic and trade relations with Israel?
I think that would be an important first step. Canada was a major player against apartheid South Africa and ending the huge injustices that took place there through sanctions and boycott and divestment. And the Communist Party of Canada absolutely supports that movement here in Canada today, which Stephen Harper, it's worth mentioning, would like to criminalize at the first opportunity he could.
So there are countries in Latin America like Bolivia that actually broke diplomatic relations with Israel. Do you think Canada should do the same thing?
I think Canada needs to support the Palestinian people, and as long as the Palestinian people support a two-state solution, Canada would be behind that. In terms of breaking diplomatic relations with Israel, I think we're certainly at that point, yes.